So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how I made the Poker Flips app. Simple app where you can choose a number of players, a number of cards, stake size, choose the name of the players, deal the cards, reveal them one by one or all at once if you like, show the flop, turn and river, and finally when all the cards have been revealed, it evaluates who has what hand, who has the best hand, and scores the players appropriately. The way I always start is to sketch out roughly how I think the screen's going to look, design where I want things to be, and let's get started. So this is Xcode, where everything happens from start to finish. All the design work, all the coding, all happens in this one program. And we are putting various objects on the screen that we're going to need. We need 6 text fields for all of the players, up to 6 players. On the left there we've got labels, which are going to be where their scores are. And here we're just putting in 6 image views for each player, which is where the cards are going to show up. Next I need some images for the cards. A quick Google search gave me a nice selection of cards that I thought looked pretty good. I copied them straight in, and just to see how some of them might look, I put them into the interface builder here. There's the backs of the cards there and the fronts of the cards there. Ran it just to see what that would look like on the screen. It was clear pretty quickly that the cards were going to be too small. So I have to set about designing my own cards. So go to canva.com, which is where I do all my design work. Find some images of spades, hearts and clubs. Find a nice font, make it nice and big. And then it's a pretty laborious copy and paste job of ace through to king, and saving them all, downloading them all. And there you have in the folder every card looking very nice. And we run that and you can see it looks much better now. Now we need to link all these nice image views and text fields and labels up to our code so that the code can actually display what we want it to on the screen. I also quickly designed a setup view controller where the user can choose a stake size, and also using the two what are called picker views, choose the number of players and the number of cards they wish. I then linked up these picker views to the setup view controller. The picker views come with various inbuilt methods, one of which is the number of rows in the picker, which in this case will be 5 because there's going to be 5 options, 2 through 6, for the number of cards and the number of players. The next method is the title for row method, which actually tells the picker what to actually display, which in both cases is always going to be the number of the row plus 2. The final inbuilt method is the didSelectRow method, and this tells the app what to do when the user selects a row. So we want to save it to a settings object, and then when we press OK, we're going to segue back to the main view controller. In the main view controller, I've typed out all the cards of the deck, and these are going to match up with the names of the image files. That's going to be very useful. And there's 3 main things that happen when we click the deal button. So I go to the deal press method. The first main thing that happens is the deck gets shuffled. The second thing is the cards get dealt. And the third thing is we evaluate the hands. Let's go through each of those by turn. The shuffle deck method is very simple. It's simply just taking that list of cards and implementing the inbuilt shuffle method, and we save that to an array called shuffle deck string. The deal cards method, let's have a look at that one, takes into account how many players and how many cards there are and displays the backs of the cards on the image views. And also what it does, crucially, is it adds what we call a tap gesture recognizer to each image view with an index attached to it. And what that does, that means that whenever we tap on any of the image views, something is going to happen. And what's going to happen is going to be this method, the card tapped method, which is right down here. The card tap method has a look and says if the image is the back of the card, then we want to display the front of the card, which is going to be shuffle deck string at the index that's passed in. So if it's the fourth card, it's going to show the image named the fourth card. Okay? And if it's not at the back of the card, it's going to turn it to the back of the card. And then we can run this to see what we've done so far. Let's choose 4 players, 6 cards. Let's change the stake size to 25. Press OK and then deal. And you can see 6 cards dealt to 4 players and a flop, turn and a river. Now that all looks very nice, but it doesn't actually do anything. We need to work out who has what and who has the best hand. And to do that, it's 2 main steps. The first step is the permutations, working out how many combinations there are of choosing 2 from your hand and 3 on the board. And the second step is the evaluate step. This is where the magic really happens. Starting with the permutations though, to choose 2 cards from a 6-card hand, there's going to be 15 combinations, and you'll notice that I've grouped them like this because they're all triangle numbers. 15 of 6 card, 10 combinations of 5 card, 6 of 4 card, and 3 of 3 card. It's a bit more complicated with 2 card because, as you know, you can use 1 or even 0 cards in Hold'em together with 4 or even 5 on the board. So these are the board permutations, and these are the extra ones for Hold'em. What you then need to do is to create hand combos, basically mixing all these together so that you end up with a load of 5-card hands. And what you're then going to do is going to compare these 5-card hands against each other using the methods that we create in this evaluate class. When it comes to evaluating hands, we're going to be comparing hundreds of hands in this kind of format. The first thing we need to do is to remove the Jack, Queen, King and Aces and turn those into integers. So that's what this rank to int dictionary does. So now we've got a whole load of integers. With this method, isolate ranks, we can isolate just those ranks and ignore the suits. That's going to be very useful, and it sorts them also in ascending order. And this method's also very useful, isolate suits. So that just gets rid of the ranks and returns just the suits. This is the third method that is going to be extremely useful in evaluating the hands, and it's going to called the create count ranks dictionary. And what this does, for this example, it will say I've got 2 9s here, 1 ace, 1 6 and 1 7. So it ignores the suits, it uses the ranks, isolate ranks method, and it counts how many of each rank there is in the hand. Now these 3 methods are pretty much all you need to evaluate every single hand and decide which ranking it's going to be. The first ranking I'm going to check for is a flush. You simply use the isolate suits method, and the flush check method returns true if the hand only has 1 unique suit in. The straight check method uses the isolate ranks method and returns true if the ranks is in this format. If it's I plus 1, I plus 2, I plus 3, I plus 4, or because you can have a wheel, it could be this format, 2, 3, 4, 5, ace. Then we've got a straight flush check, and a straight flush is simply going to use the 2 methods I've just spoke about and return if it's a straight and a flush. Return true if it's a straight and a flush. If it's 10 through ace and a flush, then it's a royal flush. And for the rest of the hand rankings, all you need is the count ranks dictionary. If the count rank dictionary contains 4, then it's going to be quads. If it contains a 3 and a 2, it's going to be a full house. If it contains just a 3, it's going to be trips. If it contains 2 2s, it's going to be 2 pair. If it contains just 1 2, it's going to be 1 pair. And this function is a bit redundant because you can just say if it's none of the above, then it's high card. But for completion's sake, I've done this as return true if there's 5 unique values and it's not a straight and it's not a flush. So now we can combine all of those functions into one function called rank hand,
and it simply starts at the top and say if it's a raw flush check is true, it's raw flush, goes down all the way to the bottom and returns the hand ranking. So we've got the hand ranking. Now we need to differentiate between hand rankings of the same type. For example, two people have a straight, we need to know which one's higher. And for that, we use this score hand method that I've created. And the way this works is it gives each ranking a base score and an additional score, and it adds them together. And let me show you what I mean by that. Raw flush being the best one, we've simply got a base score of 1,000,000, and there's no need to differentiate between the types of royal flush because they're all the same. Straight flush, base score is 100,000. And then the additional score will be based on the rank of the highest card. So in a king high straight, that will be 13. And we would add 13 to the base score of 100,000. And for a wheel, when it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 14, we wouldn't add 14. We'd have to, a special case for that, add 5. So a wheel would get a score of 100,005. So therefore it would be lower than a 6 high straight, which would be 100,006. After that, it gets a little more tricky because there's kickers involved for almost all the other rankings. So you can't just say that a quad 7s gets a score of 7 and a quad 6 gets a score of 6, and that will differentiate because the kickers play in importance. So what I needed to do was to place much greater importance on, in the quads instance, on what the rank of the quads was, and much less importance on the rank of the kicker. And I couldn't do just 10 times more importance, because then you'd get a situation where someone with quad 4s with an ace kicker would get a higher score than someone with quad 5s with a 2 kicker. So I did 100 times more. The trickiest of these to get my head around was doing the flush and the high card scorings, because they have 5 different cards, all requiring different levels of importance placed on them. So I started off with the highest card getting 100 times that of the second card, and the third card 100 times less than the second card, and so on and so forth. And using exactly the same methodology for all the other rankings, you end up with a base score, an additional score, and you return that, and that is you done. Go to colorhunt.co to find a nice color scheme. I like that one in the bottom right, and apply that along with a bunch of other finishing touches, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Yeah, let me know what you think of the video in the comments. I appreciate it's not a educational video, it's not going to teach anyone how to make an app like this or how to code at all. It's not meant like that, it's just meant to show the process from start to finish, what I was thinking, roughly the kind of things I had to tackle in order to make this. I think it took me about 8 hours all in all, spread across 3 days, which is pretty much the time it took me to make this video because I suck at video editing. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it anyway.